There it is.
There it
We
is.
are live. All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So much. Thank you all again so much as always for joining us on the show. Really excited today. We have one of our very own pipeline insurance agents on the show today. So tune in to listen and find out everything he's got to say. It's going to be a fun one.
The Carrier Experience Podcast is a show for anyone who wants to grow their agency and be a titan of the insurance industry. Learn from a panel of experts who share their agency struggles, their experiences with the nation's best carriers, and share the marketing secrets that successful insurance agents are using today. Now, here's your host, the insurance bro, James Cias.
Love that. It does not get old. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It is that time once again. Before we jump into the show, a quick reminder to please subscribe on whichever platform you're using to listen to us. Give us a like, give us a follow, subscribe, and drop a review. I will sincerely appreciate it. Today is a super special episode for me because for the very first, but hopefully not the last time, certainly not the last time, we have one of our very own pipeline team of San Diego agents on the show. I'm super excited to introduce our guest today, whose background in business economics, accounting, and international sales has helped him build a strong insurance agency and financial practice service. Before becoming an entrepreneur and diving into the insurance and financial services, our guest was also a professional golfer and played at the highest levels in the PGA. We're super excited to have this rock star on our team and on the show today. So without further ado, joining us from the pipeline team of San Diego, give a warm welcome to one of our best, Gustavo Contreras Hernandez. Woo!
Well, it's
Whole round of applause and everything.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, James. Thank you so much, and it's quite the challenge to match your enthusiasm. I don't know if we're what we're going to talk about, or if I'm about to go up against Canelo Alvarez in the ring. You know, I'm pumped.
Yeah,
Good. At least it's contagious. I mean,
that's the idea.
The day in, day out is it's tough these days. So you have to definitely keep a positive outlook and remember, you know, what keeps you happy. I mean, your podcast is obviously as much therapy for you as it is knowledge for everyone else. And I do commend you for taking the time.
Uh-oh. We lost your audio. Oh, there you go. You're back.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying I commend you for taking time out of your day for just doing something that's something that, you know, fulfills you, but also has, you know, other benefits to people to have them learn, you know, find a community.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. And again, thanks for hopping on. Definitely is something that we want to bring value to people. We want to make sure that that people are going to learn something here today. So first of all, I want you, for anybody who's listening, give us a little bit of background on yourself. How long have you been in the insurance game, and how did you get started? How did you decide to even become an insurance agent?
Oh, when did I start drinking the Kool-Aid? The good question. So I let's go back a little bit. I did my undergrad and master's administration and economics at UC Santa Barbara. After that, I did a master's in international economics at UCSD. And then during that time, I was playing golf as a, college and, kind of take my mind off things. Didn't think I had what I needed where I was mentally to go pro right out of college. So I did my master's, but I found myself that, once I got through my master's and I, got my first kind of job after, proper job, had jobs here and there, but
once you were grown up.
Yeah. Once I got grown up and I didn't feel like, being a butt in the seat was where I was being fulfilled at that moment in my time. And I realized that what I learned, the dedication, the discipline, the, trusting the process that got me through, undergrad and grad school. Once that was part of who I was, like, oh, I can actually apply this to golf. And I played in Latin America and Asia for a little bit. Ultimately, the plague of the golfer, the back injuries was something that I knew that I had to set myself out for, you know, a 7-8 year trajectory to really play where I wanted to play, you know, where I felt like it was worth my while to play. If for me, you know, everybody's goals are different. And for me, it was like, if I can't get to that elite level, then I want to be elite in something else. You know, it's just
Makes sense.
just the way I'm wired. Like
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't want to cruise through life.
You just want to be the best at whatever it is that you're doing.
I just think it's important for you to, you know, just push the boundary and just see if you can just creep to that, you know, a little bit better and make yourself get out of your comfort zone a little bit, because that's really where your mettle is tested, and your character isn't, you know, developed in hard times. It's revealed. You know, you put enough hard times together, and then you have something to show for it because of what you've overcome, and you know, your wisdom for it. So that you know, taking a little bit of a step back, I had to decide, all right, you know, do I have that you know, 8-year, you know, practice, training, playing, being on the road? Do I want to commit to that plan? Because it's these processes, you know, they look glamorous. These achievements, they look glamorous from the outside, but once you dig in deep and do a deep dive into the process, you know, there's a lot of nitty gritty. There's a lot of, you know, you know, you don't want to do things all the time. You kind of want to, you know, kind of cruise it. But when you're trying to get better, there's always that process that you have to respect and really just embrace. And if you can enjoy it, then that's the holy grail, right? If you enjoy the process, then, you know, you're doing what you need to be doing.
100%. So you were enjoying golf, but it just wasn't.
Golf.
It wasn't something that you could do for a long term. You
not in the playing professional, you know, persona. You know, it's now golf. I mean, I'm still a very competitive golfer, and I can play with clients. That
must be awesome.
There's something.
Wait, I gotta ask you. Yeah. When you go to play golf with your customers, do you go easy on them?
Not necessarily. I'm not 100% focused on my game. I mean, when you think about golf, is that it can never be won; it can only be played, right? You know, shout out to Mr. Bagger Vance there. But you go out there and you can literally you're out there for, let's say, 4.5 hours, and you're maybe hitting the ball for 2 minutes. But those, you know, like you have to be able to drop in and be focused and intentful and not be distracted when you're in that moment, right? When you're, you know, pulling the trigger and swinging away. So there's things that are automatic, but I mean, when you know you can make a shot from 100 yards, like into that little hole, you're gonna try, right? So, but you know, when you bring in the client situation, it's a different dynamic. I mean, just through the sheer fact of how hard of a sport it is to master, the competence level is respectful. I mean, there's situational, you know, knowledge and experience, and you know, where else do you have where, you know, the head of cardiology of, you know, you picked what hospital system, but the head of cardiology goes down to a range and listens to a pro. Like nowhere else. Like there's a certain type of, you know, self-confidence and maybe overreaching, you know, with that. When you get to that level, you're confident. You hear other people's opinions, but ultimately you really believe in your own, and you have to be, especially if you're, you know, like a surgeon or a Navy pilot. You just have to be confident in your decision. So it's also, there's a little bit of like a change in
so you get
situational influence, because you have mastered something that, you know, they just can't crack. So so that helps.
I'm your huckleberry.
In getting you kind of into getting their guard down, and maybe even being like, all right, like maybe I had this.
Oh, lost you
here
again.
There
it is. You're back.
Yeah. Maybe this person, you know, when you're playing out there and you're playing at a level where they can learn something from you, then they get a little bit more comfortable with having that student mentality. When, you know, I particularly obviously, you know, seek out business owners to be able to, you know, play with, teach, inform, and I still have my like teaching credentials, so I can give lessons. But
that must really That must really help you when you're in that position as an insurance agent. One of the things that we talk a lot about is providing education and providing that value to your customers.
Mhm.
And so when you're in that position where you're golfing with them, first of all, you get, like you said, 4.5 hours with them, just to chat, right? So deals are always being made on the golf course. But not only that, but you are or were a professional golfer, so they're in that mode where they can learn something from you just in their golf game. And then I'm guessing, how do you integrate the insurance into all of that, or the financial services into that?
Well, just by the sheer, let's say, economics of it, to be able to have a little bit of time to be able to, play golf during the week on a business day, to be able to,
Hmm.
be around the sport. I mean, it's not a, sport where you just buy a basketball and you can just, go lace up and play ball, right? You have to
Right.
have investment in your time, resources, manage your time to be able to have, a manager in place at your place of business so you can go take the day during the week and go play. So you've self-selected a certain demographic of people, and
Mm-hmm.
it what I was trying to get at with the learning mentality and the student mentality is that you have a situation where they're asking you for advice, right? When you
Mm-hmm.
had there and they're asking you for advice, and it's a very unique situation that I'm in, but that creates the, hey, he's got the answer, and I can ask for help. I can ask a question without feeling, judged or dumb or like I don't know, because there's certain, place of just situational knowledge that, like, the cardiologist will come to me for, like, hey man, I can't seem to, get the ball going to the left, and it's swinging right and it's going to the left. It's like, well, it's actually, golf's a game of opposites. You have to do the opposite. It's like, oh, I didn't know that, right? So when, like, and let's say we have the same situation with insurance. There's obvious things, and then there's not obvious things. There's good coverage, and then there's terrible coverage, and insurance is insurance because it's a painful thing. I mean, for most people,
Right.
they don't do the value proposition of, like, hey, I have this in place so I can, potentially fight a lawsuit in the future, or have, like, it's not weighed against the what ifs. Like, it's hard to throw something like, hey man, you pay $10,000-$15,000 for this policy. If you have a $2 million lawsuit next year, or during the policy period, you can rest easier because you have, the lawyers of the insurance company. They're going to go to bat for you. You have a
Right.
team in place now. It's not just, little mom and pop trying to scrape money or sell a car to be able to pay for an attorney just to look at, the suit. So it's a situation where it's hard to really make a risk assessment for them that makes sense in their head. But I think it is something where you have to understand that these are people that they're not used to asking for help as much
Right.
as, training and ordering and being executor and, the executive of decisions. So when they have to come to you, it's like, all right, well, let me ask you, what keeps you up at night? How have things, changed for the better or worse in, the last year in your business?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What makes you want to stay in this business? Create a dynamic where they are answering questions that they weren't even aware that they had to ask themselves.
Makes
Right.
sense.
So as insurance brokers and agents, I mean, and broker more or less, which is what I see myself as. Like, I'm working for the client, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to understand what their needs are, how I can save them money, but also how I can, protect them, create a situation where they just have to worry about their operations and, in terms of, loss control, having a situation where they know where the potential risks are,
Mm-hmm.
the little blind spots that they have here and there.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
as business owners, a lot of times we're talking about, restaurateurs, for example, somebody who owns a restaurant. They're worried about any number of things. They're worried about making sure that the food gets out to the table in a timely fashion, or at least when there are tables again after COVID. They're worried about, their suppliers getting all of their materials. They're worried about their employees showing up on time. The cooks, all these different things. And the last thing that they want to worry about is the insurance. But we know that that's as much a part of their business as anything else.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
I can give you like a quick example right now with COVID and the fires, right? They're barely making payroll. They're barely getting enough revenue to, keep the lights on. And with the fires and the rolling blackouts, I mean, most restaurants don't have a generator. So if you have, $20,000 worth of product, right, in your business, in your walk-in fridge, power goes out, you're out $20,000.
That's it.
And now you have to take that hit, go find another $20,000, go purchase that product again just to continue your operations. That's not even talking about payroll and all this other stuff, right? So,
I mean, that can really land a business right here.
I mean, far-fetched of a scenario considering COVID and the fires occurring climate right now. We're just dealing in it's a very fluid world at the moment, right? So
100%.
You it's like, you want something stable when the waters are rocky, right? So like if you're on a little, let's say like, let's go back to an old reference, Titanic, right? When she's on the door and the other guy's in the water, and it's like she's on the door, she's fine. It's like it's some stability to help you survive in the ocean, right? Everything's fluid below you, everything's moving around, but you have some stability. It's a legal contract with your insurance carrier, and to make sense of it, that's where we come in. It's like, all right, we're not lawyers, we can't tell you what's going to happen, but we can tell you what are the duties for them that they need to perform on from our perspective. Obviously,
what the intentions are.
For a proper interpretation, you would have to go to a lawyer that specializes in insurance contracts.
Right.
But that's like the next step, right? That's an even deeper dive. That's going into precedent. That's going into like, what's going on, who's paying who. And, there's a lot of issues right now with carriers covering coverages for COVID as well.
Right.
There's business interruption insurance that, some claims should be triggered, and there's people saying that will, even if you do have some type of coverage, the coverage kicks in when it's a covered loss. It can't just be like anything that happens in this world. If you stop making money, it's covered, because that would be a prohibitively expensive policy, right?
Right.
So it's a trade-off.
There are exclusions, and the fungi and bacteria exclusions, and just this whole infectious disease idea, the whole infectious disease pandemic that we're going through right now. It is, for the most part, unprecedented in our insurance world. It's something that we really haven't seen to this level, to this extreme, and it is really unfortunate. I know that some reports that I've read are saying that 50%, at least 50% of the businesses that have been shut down due to COVID will not reopen. So on the one hand, that's opportunity for a lot of people, but on the other hand, that's, a loss of a business for a lot of people. And, they're all out there, saying the same thing. Like, I have this insurance policy. Why isn't my insurance policy kicking in? And it's because, a lot of these policies require some kind of property loss, and the business income that we're talking about has those exclusions for the fungi, bacteria, and infectious diseases. It's just not covered. And the moment that one does get covered, like to your point, it sets that precedent, and all the rest start falling in line.
Let's go take a big picture perspective to what we're dealing with now. And I know there's a lot of people hurting it sucks. I mean, there's
100%.
no other word for it. Just sucks. People are hurting. But if we look at a, bird's eye view of things, and we said, hey, these carriers got money, man. Let's just have them pay. Let's just have them cover everything. And, it is what it is. The carriers have had it too good for too long.
I love this fantasy. Go on.
Okay. So you're going to deplete the reserves the carriers have to pay losses, correct?
Right.
So they're going to be
100%.
insolvent, right? They're not going to be. It's not going to be a business anymore. It's going to be a debt. It's just going to be a note, right? So what happens when a bank won't give you a loan for your house because you can't get homeowners insurance, or
Because suddenly
what happens when you can't get a loan from the bank because you can't cover the insurance? The insurance it doesn't exist anymore to cover that risk that you have. You are driving around with 30, 40,
right.
50, $100,000. It's a weapon also, right? That's a whole nother part. It's like, it's a weapon. You're driving around with like a deadly weapon, and you also have to cover the loan you have because you haven't even paid for it yet. But when those carriers can't absorb the risk, I mean, our way of life starts to unravel. All right. So for the argument that the carriers are, they're selling snake oil and, they're hawking pieces of paper out that aren't worth anything. It's like, that's where we come in. If you buy a policy, I mean, the incentives, especially with certain carriers that, have agents that exclusively work for them, their incentives are not for the customer. Their incentives are for the carrier itself. Sorry about that. For the carrier itself and for the agencies, and how they can create a more lucrative situation for themselves without, really seeing what the client's needs are and how they can, bring most value to their client. And that's why our job exists.
So let's be honest, right? The carrier, the insurance companies, their job, their purpose is to make money, right? Yeah. That's what they're here to do. So they're going to, so many times they're finding ways to not pay if they don't have to. And in this situation, like you said, as much as it sucks, everybody's out there just screaming. Everybody's out there screaming that because, the government gave us $1,200, in the past 6 months, like, woo, big whoop. Like, that's supposed to help something, right? Mm-hmm. And insurance companies aren't paying out for these COVID losses. And just so many people are losing out. But to your point, if they were to pay all of that money out, maybe they're insolvent and they go out of business, or they start charging so much for insurance policies that all of a sudden you're, today paying $1,000 a year for your homeowner's insurance. And if they were to pay all of this out, everybody would be paying like $5,000 a year for their homeowner's policy.
Which is essentially like, you take it to the extreme where you're insuring your own self, right? You're in a situation where you're insuring 50% because it's so prohibitively expensive that all you can afford is that other 50%.
Exactly. You don't want to get into a situation where you are self-insuring. That's just,
I mean, why go through the paperwork?
why go through the paperwork? Why do anything? I guess before we head out, we got about 5 minutes left here. I wanted to ask you, what are the major lines of business? What are you primarily focusing in? What's your niche?
So my ideal client is a business owner, right? You have a situation with the business owner that they're responsible for various lines of business within their business. They have, your general liability, your business property, workers' comp, an umbrella on top of that, employee benefits. You also have, going extrapolating another degree, you have that business owner's life, right? Which is, their homeowner's insurance, 2, 3 cars, and then you have their need for accumulation for retirement. There isn't a 401k in place for them most of the time. They have to fund their own retirement. They have to do it in a proper way so it doesn't blow up in their face in the future. And that's essentially my ideal client. I don't have to be the broker on record for all those lines, but I want them to know where they're placed financially among their insurance policies, which is not a negligible expense. It affects your bottom line, whether it's the economy of your business, the economy of your home. You're married, your wife is in this with you. I believe that these we've become so second nature to, we get bombarded by policies here, offers there, quotes here, lemonade on social media. It's everywhere, right? That sometimes you just commoditize it, and that's when things start to get dicey, because you will be involved in a lawsuit, whether small claims or something, if you're not covered. I mean, it's just, we live in a litigious world, unfortunately.
It's true.
It's something that has plagued a lot of people, like just pushed them out of California, but this is the world we live in. You got to take the good with the bad. You can go out and change the world, but ultimately you got to take care of yourself and not be blindsided, so you can continue, going out and doing what you're passionate about, and living your life and looking after your loved ones. So that's essentially who I seek out as prospects, are business owners that I mean, it's not that they don't want to know, just like create a situation where they're engaged, but you make it easy for them to make decisions. I mean, you create a plan, you look like, all right, this is where you're at, this is where you're spending the money. And just, I break it down in Excel sheets for them. I create master policy lists.
Nice.
And we've got 15 different policies with you. You got to have a master list. You got to know when they renew. Let's try and get the renewal dates on the same date, so we don't have to worry this about once a year. You're gonna have to talk to me, for 10 months if you don't want. But like, I believe me, when I call you, you better pick up, because it's like I'm calling you because I'm looking out for you now. Else, like the money will come if you provide the value.
100%.
And if you're with that person and they're making it tough for you and they're not recognizing that value, I mean, we're okay. I mean, you know what? Sorry, it's just not working out. You need somebody else. You can fire a client, unfortunately. That's the beauty of being in a situation like we are. We're independent. We can be like, you know what? I don't think I am in a position where I can fulfill your needs, and I think you should look for somebody that maybe is a little bit more kind of cookie cutter or expedient. They just want it now. Sorry, I need to do it right. I need to do it right, because then we're gonna have to do it again, and I don't want you coming back to me saying you didn't take care of me. You did not do your job properly. You knew better. I was like, well, let's set some time apart. Let's talk about it. Let's again, I go back to this. Let's hear what keeps you up at night. When you look in that mirror and all your master chess moves in your head, like, what worries you? It's not. It's that's it. It's, we can't, to thine own self be true, little Shakespeare.
And how can we assuage those fears?
Like how can I bring value to your life?
Yep, 100%. Yeah. I love that idea of the master policy list that you're talking about, having it all on one spreadsheet and saying, hey, look, these are when your policies are coming up.
I have one up right now, and I'll just give you like the quick in front of. I've got 2 screens going. I've got policy, company, carrier, line of business, premium, past year's premium, so we have a little delta there.
Comparison.
Nice. Coverage period, status, active, and at the end, I'm like, this is the date I'm going to call you for that policy.
Nice.
Like, this is where I need at least 4 to 6 weeks to get this going once again for renewal, loss runs. The carrier needs to be sure that you're the same risk they thought before, and maybe things have worsened, maybe things have improved, maybe your premium is going down, maybe it's going up, but we don't want any surprises. That's our business, is to anticipate the surprises and not have them, right?
100%. Man, Gustavo, it's been so much fun getting to chat with you here today. Again, I really appreciate you taking your time. Learned a lot from you, especially that master list. I'm going to definitely take that. Hopefully I can get a template from you, because that's some. Well, you know what? We have our X date list. It's very, very similar. So definitely something that we can.
Yeah,
implement.
I mean that was something I kind of just took a note from, and but this was something for client specific. I'm like, I want you to have it in your hand. Like, it's just
nice.
I have an insurance question that will, that takes care of about 60-70% of the questions. Now,
I love that.
Hey, and then it makes it easier. Like, hey, I want policy. I'm like, okay, well, you've got 15 policies. Which one? And then they just look at the line. They look at the line. They copy and paste the policy number, send it to you. Like, oh, that one. I got it. 1 second.
Nice.
So
nice.
It's self-serving in a little way, but
yeah.
That's just,
but I mean,
that's just between me and you.
Yeah, and everybody else who's listening. But
there's people listening.
Yeah,
this whole time.
Oh my
God.
Oh, you better watch what you say now.
Jesus, I don't think I said any better words.
I don't think so either. But yeah, having that X date list, it's so funny because we usually use that internally for ourselves, but for you to actually provide that to the customer for them to be able to see their policies, that's definitely something nifty. I like it.
Value added. I mean, it's not something I do for personal lines 2-3, but when it comes, like I said, my prospect, which is a business owner,
niche.
That's what we got to do for them, because we got to give them the tools for them to be able to stay on top of it, and for them to anticipate us reaching out to them and making time for us, instead of us being a nuisance when they have no idea what we're talking about.
100%. Well, again, thank you so much for hopping on with us today. Definitely, this is something that we will share to the pipeline team, at least, because I'm trying to get more of our agents onto the show. So thank you so much for hopping on. Really appreciate you. Where can people find out more information about you and get in touch with you if they want your help with insurance?
So I work with you guys, obviously. Pipeline Insurance, great company, great people. They really do care, and I'm part of their team for that reason. And for me, I'm at Happy Life Financial, so happylifefinancial.com. Happy Life at Happy Life Fin right there is that Twitter or
Instagram?
Instagram. All right, Happy Life at Happy Life Fin for Instagram. And just reach out, send us a quick message, and we love to do business with people who want to learn, because ultimately. I learn as much from clients as they learn from me. And we all have our little niches in this world, whether it's by, willful act or just circumstances. But we're all doing what we need to be doing, and we all have stuff that we can learn from each other. So there's great synergy that goes on between business owners and myself. I'm a student of the world, and I'm a student of economics and finance. I just love to see the way our economy breathes. I mean, it's a living, breathing thing, and we're part of it. So you got to understand yourself before you see where you fit in the economy. And ultimately, for business owners, that bottom line is a key indicator of where they stand.
Perfect. All right, man. Well, again, thank you so much. And I think that pretty much does it for us today. So everybody who's listening, thank you all, as always, for tuning in. Everybody who does listen, you all rock my socks. You have my heart. As always, have a nice day.
Thank you for tuning in to the Carrier Experience Podcast. James is the CEO of the Pipeline team of San Diego and is always in the market for top talent. If you are an agent looking for a place to hang your license, visit pipelineinsurance.com/agent opportunities or send an email to newagent@pipelineinsurance.com. You can find James on all social media at Insurance Broham.